everyone, and welcome back to Milan Soccer Club, the podcast dedicated to all things Rossoneri. I'm Alice.
And I'm Paul. Today we're diving headfirst into what could be the most crucial match of Milan's season, the Coppa Italia semifinal against Inter. It's do or die time, folks.
Absolutely, Paul. This isn't just about bragging rights in the Derby della Madonnina. With Milan sitting ninth in Serie A and their Champions League dreams dashed, winning the Coppa Italia might be their only ticket to European football next season. The pressure is on.
You got it, Alice. We'll be dissecting Consacau's strategy for the Derby. He's talking about a strong start and a determination to win against a very strong Inter. We'll also break down the team selection, with Leao back in the starting lineup and some key position battles heating up. Plus, we'll look at what this game means for Consacau's future at the club. It's a packed agenda, so let's get started.
All right, Paul, let's start with the big picture here. Milan versus Inter in the Coppa Italia semifinal. You said it's do or die, and that Milan is currently ninth in Serie A and out of the Champions League spots. Can you elaborate on why this match is so crucial for Milan's European ambitions?
Absolutely, Alice. This game, it's not an overstatement to say it could define Milan's entire season. Finishing ninth in Serie A, that's not good enough for a club of Milan's stature. And with their Champions League campaign over, they're facing the very real prospect of missing out on European football altogether next season. And to everyone listening, missing out on Europe would be catastrophic. It affects revenue, player recruitment, the club's prestige, everything. The Coppa Italia, therefore, represents their most direct path back into the European fold. Winning the competition guarantees a spot in the Europa League. It's like a golden ticket, Alice, a lifeline. And the fact that they have to go through their bitter rivals Inter to get there, well, that just adds another layer of intensity to an already explosive situation.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So to be clear, if Milan loses this semifinal, their chances of playing in Europe next season take a massive hit. Is there any other alternative to get a spot in Europa League if they don't win the Coppa Italia?
Exactly, Alice. If they stumble here, they're relying solely on climbing up the Serie A table. And let's be honest, they haven't exactly been setting the league on fire, have they? They are inconsistent and in the middle of a rebuild. There's definitely the possibility of qualifying for the Europa League or even the Conference League through their league position, but it's a much more uncertain route. They'd need to overtake several teams currently above them, and those teams are also fighting for those spots. Roma, Lazio, Atalanta, they're all in the mix. So yeah, losing to Inter would put them in a really precarious position regarding European qualification. It's all or nothing.
Wow, the stakes are incredibly high. Now let's talk about Sergio Consacau. We know he's emphasized the importance of a strong start and a determination to win. But Inter is a formidable opponent. What specific tactical approaches or strategies do you think Consacau might employ to try and gain an advantage in this derby?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Knowing Consacau, he's not going to shy away from an aggressive approach. He wants Milan to come out firing on all cylinders right from the kickoff. I'm expecting a high-pressing game, trying to disrupt Inter's build-up play and force turnovers in dangerous areas. He will try to suffocate Inter midfield to create chances. He said Inter is a very strong team, but I think he said it to lower the pressure, and he truly believes Milan can win. And believe me, Alice, he will put his heart on it. Look, Inter are incredibly solid defensively, so Milan need to be clinical in front of goal. They can't afford to waste any chances. But it's not just about tactics, It's about mentality. Consacau needs to instill that belief, that unwavering confidence in his players that they can go out there and beat Inter. It's a derby. Anything can happen. But Milan need to be prepared to fight for every single ball, to win every tackle, to leave everything on the pitch. And that starts with a strong, positive mindset.
Okay, I see what you mean. Aggressive, high-pressing, and mentally prepared for a battle. But Inter knows Milan will come out strong. How do you think Inter will likely adapt their game plan to counter Milan's aggressive tactics?
Inter is not stupid. They're too experienced and too well coached to be caught off guard. I expect Inzaghi to have a plan to exploit Milan's aggressiveness. Probably, they will try to bypass Milan's press with quick, direct passes to their forwards, or even play it long and use Dzeko and Lautaro's physicality to win those aerial duels. They will look for the second ball to exploit the space in Milan's midfield. Inter will be very compact and ready to counterattack. Inzaghi will be wary of Leao's pace and try to double-team him whenever he gets the ball. The key for Inter is to remain calm and composed and to not get drawn into a physical battle or emotional game. If they can weather Milan's initial storm and control the tempo of the game, they have the quality to punish them.
That sounds like a fascinating tactical battle brewing. Let's move on to team selection. The reports suggest Leao is back in the starting lineup. How crucial is his return for Milan, and what impact do you expect him to have on the game?
Leao's return is massive. I mean, he's Milan's game changer, isn't he? His pace, his dribbling, his ability to create something out of nothing, it's all world class. He stretches defenses, he terrifies defenders, and he gives Milan that X factor they've been missing when he's been out. Inter knows they have to be prepared, and the left side is where most of the dangers comes from. And remember, he's not just a goal scorer, you know? He's a creator. He draws defenders to him, which opens up space for other players. His presence alone makes Milan a much more dangerous attacking force. But, and it's a big but, he needs to be at his best. We've seen him drift in and out of games sometimes, and against a team like Inter, he can't afford to have an off day. He needs to be fully focused, fully engaged, and ready to exploit any weakness in Inter's defense. If he's on his game, he can be the difference maker, Alice. No doubt about it.
Okay, Leao is key. Got it. Now, the reports also mention 3 key position battles: Musa versus Jimenez, Gabbia versus Tomori, and Abraham versus Jimenez. Let's break those down one by one. First, Musa versus Jimenez. What are the key differences each player brings to the midfield, and why is this decision so difficult for Conceição?
Okay, this is a tough one. Musa brings energy, dynamism, and a real box-to-box presence. He's great at winning the ball back, driving forward, and supporting the attack. Jimenez, on the other hand, is more of a technical player, better at dictating the tempo and playing those incisive passes. If Conceição wants more defensive solidity and a player who can run all day, Musa is the obvious choice. But if he wants more creativity and someone who can unlock Inter's defense with a clever pass, Jimenez might be the better option. So it really depends on what Conceição prioritizes. Does he want to stifle Inter's midfield, or does he want to outplay them? It's a classic tactical dilemma.
And what do you think Conceição will prioritize?
Honestly, it's a coin toss. Given the importance of the game, I'd lean towards Musa. His energy and defensive work rate might be crucial in containing Inter's midfield. But Jimenez's creativity could also be a valuable asset if Milan struggles to break down Inter's defense. Conceição's probably losing sleep over this one.
I can imagine. Okay, let's move on to the second battle, Gabbia versus Tomori. Why is this even a question? Isn't Tomori usually a guaranteed starter?
Normally, yes, Tomori is one of the first names on the team sheet. But he's been a bit inconsistent this season, hasn't he? He's had some shaky performances, made some uncharacteristic errors. Gabbia, on the other hand, has been solid and reliable whenever he's been called upon. He's a no-nonsense defender, good in the air, and a decent passer. Conceição might be tempted to go with Gabbia for his consistency and reliability, especially in a high-pressure game like this. But Tomori's got that extra bit of pace and aggression, and on his day, he's a world-class defender, so it's a risk-reward situation. Does Conceição stick with the tried-and-tested Tomori, hoping he rediscovers his best form, or does he go with the more dependable Gabbia, who might not have the same ceiling but is less likely to make a costly mistake?
Again, a tough call. And finally, the last battle, Abraham versus Jimenez. What's the deciding factor here? Is it about physicality, goal-scoring ability, or something else?
This is primarily about physicality and hold-up play. Abraham is a bigger, stronger player, better at holding the ball up and bringing others into play. Jimenez is quicker, more agile, and a better finisher. If Conceição wants a focal point up front who can win aerial duels and create space for Leao and Pulisic, Abraham is the obvious choice. If he wants a more mobile striker who can run in behind the defense and exploit any gaps, Jimenez might be the better option. It probably depends on how Milan wants to approach the game, Alice. Do they want to dominate possession and play through the middle, or do they want to hit Inter on the counterattack with quick, incisive passes?
Okay, that makes sense. So all three of these position battles seem to hinge on Conchecao's overall tactical plan and what he wants to prioritize in this specific game. Shifting gears a bit, I wanted to touch on something else mentioned in the reports. Conchecao addressing the team's poor match starts, particularly referring to the Napoli match. What's the root cause of these slow starts, and how is Conchecao trying to fix them?
The slow starts have been a real problem for Milan. Against Napoli, they were a goal down inside the first minute, and it completely threw their game plan out the window. Concecao's clearly identified this as a major issue, and he's trying to address it both tactically and mentally. Tactically, they may have been tweaking their pre-match warm-up routines and their initial game plan to ensure they're more focused and alert from the first whistle. But the mental side is just as important, you know? He needs to instill that sense of urgency, that killer instinct in his players. He needs to make them understand that every single minute counts, and they can't afford to switch off, even for a second. This Milan team seems fragile right now, so everything has to be put in place. It sounds a little like tough love, but he seems to understand the root of Milan issues.
It's interesting that you say fragile, because I also see them as quite reactive. Do you think Conceicao is the right manager to fix this issue? Given his reputation for being a fiery and demanding coach, is he capable of instilling this sense of urgency without overwhelming the team?
That's a fair question, Alice. Conceicao is known for his passionate and demanding style, which can sometimes rub players the wrong way. But I think in this situation, it might be exactly what Milan needs. They need someone to shake them up, to challenge them, to push them beyond their comfort zones. His fiery nature could be a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it could ignite a fire within the players, motivating them to perform at their best. But on the other hand, it could also create tension and resentment if not managed properly. The key is finding the right balance and creating a culture of respect and trust within the team. I think he knows he needs to be more of a motivator and less of a dictator, and hopefully that's what we'll see in this derby.
Let's talk about the referee appointment. Michael Fabbri, is there anything noteworthy about his selection, any past incidents involving him and Milan that fans should be aware of?
Well, Fabbri's a pretty experienced referee, but he's not without his controversies. Some Milan fans might remember him from the Milan-Roma match, where there was a questionable penalty decision involving Reinders. It's always a concern when a referee with a history of controversial calls is appointed for a big game like this. The pressure's on him to have a clean game, to make fair and accurate decisions, and to not let the occasion get to him. It is also important to understand that referees make mistakes, so whatever decision he makes is important to accept it, even if it's difficult.
Okay, so a potentially controversial referee in charge of a high-stakes derby. Let's zoom out again and consider the long-term significance of this match. It's been mentioned that Milan hasn't won the Coppa Italia since 2003. Why has this competition been so elusive for them, and what would winning it mean for the club's legacy and morale?
2003. That's a long time ago, Alice. It is so rare that most of the fans today do not remember. For whatever reason, they just haven't been able to put it all together in this competition, you know? They've had some near misses, some disappointing defeats, but they haven't been able to get over that final hurdle. A win, it would be a massive boost for the entire club, from the players and staff to the fans. It would end that long trophy drought. It would guarantee them a place in the Europa League, and it would give them something to celebrate after what's been a pretty difficult season. But more than that, it would restore that winning mentality, that belief that they can compete with the best. It would send a message to the rest of Italy and to Europe that Milan is back and they're ready to challenge for major honors again. This trophy is so important, you can't measure it.
That makes perfect sense. Finally, let's address Concecao's potential future at Milan.
That's the big question mark hanging over this whole situation, isn't it? Winning the Coppa Italia would definitely strengthen Concecao's position, no doubt about it. It would give him a trophy to show for his efforts, and it would demonstrate that he can deliver under pressure. But as the Pirlo example shows, it's not always enough. There are other factors at play, such as the team's overall performance in Serie A, his relationship with the players, and the club's long-term vision. If Milan finishes outside the European spots, and if there are concerns about his style of play or his man management skills, the club might still decide to go in a different direction, even if he wins the Coppa Italia. Honestly, the situation is fluid, and a lot will depend on how the rest of the season unfolds. But one thing's for sure, winning the Coppa Italia would give him a much better chance of staying at Milan.
It's such a complex situation. So to recap, this Coppa Italia semifinal is absolutely vital for Milan's European hopes. Conceição needs to implement a strong tactical plan, address the team's slow starts, and manage the pressure effectively. The team selection battles are intriguing, and the referee appointment adds another layer of uncertainty. And ultimately, the outcome of this match could have a significant impact on Conceição's future at the club. Paul, this has been an amazing overview of this important match. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Alice. It's going to be a fascinating game, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds. To everyone listening, let us know what you think will happen in the game.
So what do you think, folks? Can Milan pull off a victory against Inter and salvage their season? Let us know your predictions in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Milan Soccer Club for all the latest news, analysis, and insights on your favorite team. Until next time, Forza Milan.